Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Unity Church of Delaware's regular Sunday service. We're so pleased you're there to join in with us today. This is how we stay in touch as a community, and we are so grateful to be here today. You might notice from the somewhat different surroundings, we're at the church building this morning. We had a power outage at our house, so we kind of threw things in the car, and we had to leave Buddy and Bella behind this morning. They're napping this morning. They'll join us next week. But we're set up here at the church, and glad to be able to come up here and do that. So thank you for finding us here, as you have been every Sunday. We're particularly thrilled today. We have musical guests, special musical guests today. They've been monthly with us for quite a long while, but we haven't seen them now for over 3 months. So it's a real treat to have Lynda McClanahan and Joel Knepp with us as our musical guests this morning. So enjoy.
Most of you will have joined in by now. We're so glad to be at the church this morning. We had, as I mentioned before, a power outage at our house in Dublin, so it was good we had another alternative. We had looked into Wi-Fi and beefed up the Wi-Fi here at the church just recently, so we knew we could do it, and Lynda and Joel were kind enough to switch their plans a little bit and meet us on up here. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your patience with us last week, too, with our little technical glitches last week. We've been really pretty fortunate. Over 3 months we've been doing this, and not too many problems. So a little bit of that glitch, but we think that's ancient history already by now. We're not...
Nothing like new equipment.
Nothing like new equipment to throw you a few loops. But thank you for joining us today. I pulled out a prayer song. It seems like it's so important right now for us to be able to create quiet places in our minds, in our hearts, in our lives. We need that nourishment, and we need that inner settledness, is a phrase we used for it last week. So I picked Michael Gott's prayer song this morning. I like so much. It's called "I Will Make a Quiet Place." So we'll sing that together. Join in with us wherever you are, and then we'll have a prayer together. I will make a quiet place. Y'all can sing along too.
still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know. I will make a quiet place within my heart, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord. I will make a quiet place within my mind, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord. I will make a quiet place within my life, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord. I will make a quiet place. I will make a quiet place. Let's close our eyes for a moment and go into prayer together. Feel our oneness with one another and with that power and presence of God within us, that presence of intelligence, of love, of peace, of strength, of courage, that we are deeply connected to, that we are one with. And as we ground ourselves in that source, we feel our oneness with each other. Each of us is a channel, an open channel for the flow of that wisdom, that peace, that love into the world, direct from source, flowing through us to heal and renew and restore us to wholeness in our bodies, our minds, our spirits, in our communities, around the globe. That deep divine intelligence and love is with us always, moment by moment, to steer and steady us. So we are wide open to its influence this morning. As we are day by day, we are ready to be guided, ready to be lifted up, ready to be healed, and restored to perfect wholeness. So we affirm our understanding of that deep and high truth of God's unfailing presence with us and our oneness with it. And we are grateful. And so it is. Amen. Amen. Thank you, Joe. That was lovely. Well, we are going to have another song by our special guest this morning. It's a treat to have him back at the church. It's been a long while, since maybe the end of, not March, but maybe the end of February, probably, yes?
I think so.
Yeah, the last, because they're typically 4th Sunday, so last Sunday in February. Welcome back.
I've really missed it. I really missed it. So thanks for having us.
Pastures
supporting breath drives all my fears away. Thy hand inside of all my foes doth still my table spread. My cup with blessing overflows. Thine oil anoints my head. The sure provisions of my God attend me all my days. Oh, may thy house be mine abode, and all my work be praised. There would I find a settled rest, while others go and come. No more a stranger nor a guest, but like a child at home. Just like a child at home.
That was lovely. That was lovely. Thank you. All right. All right. Joe is panning that camera back and forth. Looking good. Okay. Well, of course, we're always practicing a little social distancing when we see others, so we kind of have a little semicircle here to make sure we all have a little room. Thank you all for joining us this morning. This is such an important way that our community can stay connected over these weeks. However long they are, we know we're still connected. We can share prayers with each other. We can lift each other up in prayer, and we continue as a community during this time. I've been hearing the phrase lately that this is, they're calling this the in-between time, which I find kind of an interesting phrase to think about, and just exploring some ideas related to that today. And one of the key ideas I wanted to just share a few notions about today is that in-between times are healing times. And it seems to be rising up pretty clearly in this time we're all sharing together that this is a time of healing, and of things rising up for healing in ourselves, in our families maybe, in our communities, and in our world. It's a time, in between times are times of healing, where you are moving from the way things were, and you're in between as things are healing and growing and renewing and restoring into and becoming what will be. And we're in that spot in between. So I think it's a good thing to reflect on in this time as we're doing our own healing work and supporting each other in everyone's healing work. What's our role in that? What's our role in healing? What has it ever been? And I think there's some real basic principles that are, I find at least, helpful to kind of remember about healing. And one of the first ones is that we are not the originator of healing energy. We don't do it. We don't make it happen. It's always available to us. We can access it. It can flow through us. But we are not the originator of healing energy. I like this quote from a physician and psychotherapist, Dr. Gerald May, He said, nobody ever heals anybody else, nor does any one person heal himself or herself. We don't have that kind of power. So we're not the originator of it. And the second key thing that I think is just a wonderful truth about healing to remember is that healing just happens, and it's happening all the time. We don't have to urge it. We don't have to make it happen. We don't have to manufacture it. It's just always going on. And we have been relying on that our whole lives. That's going on right now. And it's interesting how we forget that sometimes, and we don't believe that it's happening when we're not seeing immediate evidence of it, when it's been healing us a remarkable variety of things our whole lives. Always loved this quote from Carl Jung. He said that many people simply outgrow a psychological problem that was deemed incurable. He said he's seen an amazing variety of conditions heal on their own. I like the humility of that. He was aware he wasn't making it all happen for people. That healing energy is just happening in us all the time. Jesus put it this way. He said, the Father within does the work. Wasn't him. He had gifts for sharing that healing energy flowing through him, but he knew it wasn't him. God was the source of it. So I think that's really important to remember at a time, at an in-between time when we're in need of healing. Is remembering, and we've all had experience of it, haven't we? Can you remember lots of times in your lives when you felt and were aware you were being healed and you weren't making it happen? I had a wonderful experience of that many years ago. I had started noticing a kind of a lump on my throat. It was a nodule of some kind, and I went to the doctor about it, and they diagnosed some kind of a thyroid nodule, and they did a little unpleasant little test to withdraw some, like some kind of a biopsy thing, and said it was inconclusive. I love medical language. They called it a heterogeneity. That means a something or other in medical language. I had a heterogeneity on my neck. But it was some kind of thyroid nodule. It was inconclusive, so they said, textbook said if it's inconclusive, surgically remove it. But I had kind of a mature doctor, and I was not in a hurry to have a surgery like that. And he said, we can watch it for a while. So we watched it, and I'd go back in every several months and look at it. And sure enough, somehow about a couple of years down the road, it kind of, over a weekend, a Thanksgiving weekend, which I thought was appropriate, it kind of ruptured and went away without any ill effects. And that was the end of it. The body and the intelligence in there, that healing source in there, somehow or other, took care of it for me without my having to do anything. We've had things like healing our whole lives, though, haven't we? Every one of us have had things, the miracle of a cut healing up without our having to do anything. So I thought I wanted to review, this is from Dr. Gerald May's book, Simply Sane. He says, this is our role in the healing process, and it's really very basic things that any doctor or anyone wanting to help with the healing process does. These are the basics. Here's the first one, bring the injured or diseased part back into a natural state. Restore natural order or natural state. Now that's real easy to see with like a limb, that's like broken or something, and you kind of put it in a natural state. And but it's the same thing maybe going on in our lives right now, restoring a kind of a natural rhythm or balance in our lives, getting rid of the excesses and the overdoing, getting back to a kind of a sane kind of nature, putting things back into a natural state. We shared some ideas last week from Menachem's book, My Grandmother's Hands, where he had a lot of practices on breathing and restoring natural flow in us as the foundation of good health. I think that's part of what we're doing right now. Bring things back into a natural state. The second one, Dr. May says to cleanse and purify. Cleanse and purify. We see that with any kind of a wound. You clean it. You clean it as much as you can. You purify it. Natural state and then clean or purify. I think there's a lot of that going on in this collective healing in-between time we're involved in right now, don't you? There's a lot of people decluttering, getting rid of stuff, cleaning up their homes, cleaning up their lives in some ways, their habits, kind of doing some kind of cleansing, purifying work, maybe even internally in meditation practice. I think we're kind of instinctively find ourselves following these basic healing practices at such times. Sometimes a deeper cleaning is needed than we realize. We really need to look at something again that we thought was healed that wasn't. And I think some of that is coming up for us right now. Made me think of a gash I got years ago on my hand. I was washing a glass at the sink or something, and it just broke in my hand and really opened up I still got a scar here on it, really opened up a section on my hand. I was very young. I was, maybe 21 or something, and I didn't know anything about wounds, and I stuck a Band-Aid on it and forgot about it. Went to bed, and the next day it was inflamed and swollen and didn't look good at all. And I went to an ER, and a nurse very patiently explained to me, whenever anything's gaping like that, you need stitches. It was deeper than I realized, and I hadn't taken it seriously enough. I think that sometimes applies to our mental, spiritual, and our community issues too. If we don't, like with the racial strife, we've been rediscovering lately that we didn't heal in the way we thought. The efforts we made way back then didn't do it, and it's risen up for healing again. We need a deeper cleaning, a deeper purifying. We need to really think about what's needed to really clean that wound. That's kind of going on in this cleansing, purifying stage of our healing right now, as we're doing our own healing work and purifying work in our own lives. And the third one, he says, is rest. So it's restore things to a natural state, cleanse and purify, and rest. Secrets of healing, very, very basic. We're all being sort of forced to rest right now, aren't we? I've been rediscovering my need for rest, and I think we've all been maybe doing that a little bit. We need rest to be able to show up as healthy and be able to think creatively, to be there for ourselves, for our families, for our neighbors and friends. I think maybe many of us have been driving ourselves too hard in recent years, trying to do too much. Does anybody even use that word multitasking anymore? I think we're done with that. And I think we're discovering doing one task at a time with our hearts and minds is enough, and is the best way to ensure we're doing good work for ourselves and others. I think we're all rediscovering we need rest, and that's a part of our healing right now too. And to his three, those are the basic three, and I have plenty to work with right there, but another one I thought was a good one to add is to be kind. I think that's an important part of the healing process. I think sometimes when things aren't going well and they're out of order and things seem damaged and not right, and healing is needed, sometimes we get impatient and frustrated with it and even angry about it. It's a call for more love. It's a call for more kindness. That's the way we can support our healing best and each other's healing best. I found myself thinking about how we handle little wounds and gashes and cuts when we were kids. And I remember I had a million skinned knees as a little girl. Maybe some of you did too, just trying to run too fast and crashing down on that sidewalk. I still remember the feeling of it. But I remember the routine of going home, cleansing and purifying, getting that cleaned out, and then our parents in those days anyway would put on some of that bright colored mercurochrome. Do y'all remember mercurochrome?
Yes.
I had to look it up because I thought, what happened to mercurochrome? I guess it was kind of withdrawn because of fears about mercury, although they never did any thorough testing to see if it was a problem, really. They just, the expense of doing the testing, it just went off the market instead. But I remember little happy faces and suns and things like that being put on my childhood wounds, gently and kindly, as an effort to support the healing of those wounds. And to me, I kind of look back on that, as or being tucked in, at the when you have a cold and you have to stay home from school, or the kindness of that, the gentle gestures. We need to do those to ourselves. We need to help one another with that level of kindness as we do our healing work. We are all in this together, and it's kind of a stressful time, and we're all feeling the effects of that. So as we rest, and as we do the cleansing and purifying, and as we restore natural order and flow, to our lives. Let us be kind to ourselves and gentle and kind to one another as we do that. So let's take that into a closing prayer together if we could. Just close our eyes for a moment and feel that kindness in us, that loving kindness that is direct from source, infinite source in us. We are beloved, every one of us. That loving energy flows through us steadily, unfailingly, and it is all about healing us. That healing energy that has been healing us our whole lives is flowing through us strongly right now, every one of us, flowing through our neighborhoods and our community, flowing through our world, unfailingly, constantly doing its steady healing work in our very midst, in every one of us. And we rest, and we reflect, and we stay true to ourselves. And we cleanse, and we purify, and we restore the natural order within and all around us while God does its perfect work. And we are grateful. And so it is. Amen. Amen. All right. Well, before we have a closing song from Lynda and Joel, I want to do a few announcements here. Songs that Lynda and Joel sang today, we'll put those song titles out afterwards. Joel will probably put those in the comments. I always like to make sure you know who the composers are on those songs. We want to receive your prayer requests anytime. Send them in. You can send even in the comments section here too if it's okay for it to be public. But otherwise, go to the website, unitydelawareohio.org. There's a prayer request tab at the top. You can send it in. It's confidential right to my computer. Or if you like, I can send it out to our online prayer group of 30 or 40 folks who will lift that up in prayer with you. And if you want to be a part of that group, let me know. And all I need is an email address, and we'll make you part of that prayer circle. We have exciting news about a guest coming in later in July 19th. We've lined up Karen Drucker. We tried to get her the last couple of years to come in person, and we haven't been able to work it out. But she's doing things virtually from her home studio in the Bay Area in California, and we've got her lined up for July 19th to be our guest speaker and musician that day. So thank you, Karen Drucker, wherever you are, and I know you are all going to want to experience Karen that weekend. We're grateful for your support. I say this every week, and it's so meaningful to us and to our church to help us continue through this time. Your tithes and donations coming in through PayPal or just checks to the P.O. box in Delaware mean a lot to our church community. We're so grateful for that support. So thank you so much. Thank yous today. Thank you to Lynda and Joel for coming today and sharing your wonderful music with us. It's a treat to have you back. Thank you to Joe for technical support.
Thanks to Paul Wester for being our congregation.
We have one congregant here today. Paul Wester showed up to make sure we had AC and things going okay at the building. So he is our congregation today. So many thanks to our congregation today. And thanks to all of you for joining us today. This is how we stay in touch with the community during this time. And we'll be back at our house probably next week. And Buddy and Bella will be delighted to see you that Sunday and get their treats again. Thank you for joining us. We'll have a closing song, and then we'll do the prayer for protection together. All right?
Love is in my heart today.
But we got it together. That's a great song. Great song. Thank you so much for joining us today. It was a treat. And thank you all for joining us today. So let's just join together in our prayer for protection if we could. Wherever you are, say it with us. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And so it is. Thank you for joining us. Bye for now.